IIT Kharagpur is very hard to get into. I've heard that there are very few women in IITs.
I think I've been a sort of a person who gets excited by competition. So, I like to take on a challenge. IITs have 0.25% acceptance rate, which is lower than Harvard or, Berkeley or MIT. At IIT in electronics, there were only four girls out of 70 or 80 people batch.
I mean, that is remarkable. You did a PhD in 4 years. I think hard work is overrated.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of Pitch Cafe podcast. We are here in Silicon Valley talking to probably one of the smartest women in technology and, of course, the hottest artificial intelligence domain. This is Women's History Month, and I cannot share my excitement enough on how happy I am to talk to a STEM leader on my podcast today. As you all know, women are a rarity both in the field of STEM. As you climb the ladder in the corporate, the number of women starts dwindling. And I am in the startup and venture space, and the women in the VC community and the startup founding community is extremely rare. So, our guest of honor today is Divya Chitimalla. She is a graduate from IIT Kharagpur, Doctor of Philosophy, a PhD in computer science from UC Davis, an ex Googler, and now she's one of the founding senior software engineers at a hot machine learning or artificial intelligence startup. So, Divya, tell us all about who you are, who's the person behind all these achievements. How do you define yourself? Who do you see yourself as?
First of all, thank you so much, Vida. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you, and it's awesome to be connected to people like you who amplify women's voices. Like we were chatting just now, right? Leading in, like what you're doing is right now you're leaning in and amplifying a female voice. I love it. I'm happy to be here. So a bit about myself. I am Divya Chitimalla. I was born and raised in Hyderabad, and I went to IIT Kharagpur and graduated in 2013. After that, I came to do my PhD from UC Davis. I graduated there in 2017 with my PhD in computer networks and network optimization. After that, I worked in big tech. I worked in Akamai for a year, and I was at Google for more than 4.5 years, mostly working on Google security products. Um, yeah, and then last year I joined a very early stage company which is doing really exciting stuff in database space using AI, the latest of AI to create like a self-managing database. So it's very exciting, and I'm really happy to have had all these opportunities and had this journey so far.
Wonderful. So Divya, you're pretty young, I would say, to be an IIT startup mentor. You've been a mentor at IIT startups in the past. It's an organization where the IIT founders uh, try to collaborate with venture capitalists in a accelerator kind of ecosystem. Why did they pick you? Because you're so young, and that is a very competitive organization. They don't just randomly pick anyone. So what was it like being in Silicon Valley among the cream of talent and mentoring startups when you're just a graduate PhD and you few years of experience?
Yeah, no, it's great. I think that so first, how I came across IT startups was through one of the meetups. I met some of the organizers and stuff, and then I applied online. I don't exactly know why they picked me, but I think it's because I've had experience. I've had PhD. I've been working at Google by then. So then I was also willing to put in X amount of hours per week. So it was great. I'm glad that they picked me, and I got another opportunity again for cohort 11 as well. I was a mentor in cohort 8, and in cohort 11 as well I applied and I got an invite. So it's great.
You know, I see you're doing a lot more than what your age talks about. So let's get started with some practices you follow in your life, or some parts of your personality that have propelled you ahead. First of all, I want to know, look, IIT Kharagpur is very hard to get into. I've heard that there are very few women in IITs, more so in Kharagpur area. What was your mindset, which let you feel, hey, I can make it. I can be part of IIT Kharagpur. I can apply there. And what made you get through and survive? It seems once you get in, it's like half the journey. Surviving an IIT is the hardest journey. So, what was it like, and how did you make it?
Yeah, so like you've heard and seen before, right? IITs have 0.25% acceptance rate, which is lower than Harvard or Berkeley or MIT. So it's minusculely low percentage of people get in. So it's very competitive. And I think I've been a sort of a person who gets excited by competition. So I like to take on a challenge. So that's probably my personality, like that. So I like being taking part in, like, when at school I liked competitive exams, or competitive sports. So that's something that I felt the rush adrenaline when I was doing that. So it's a probably my personality type. But yeah, it's been exciting. At IIT, in electronics, there were only four girls out of 70 or 80 people batch. So everybody knew us, but sometimes the attention is not as welcoming, or it could be intimidating, because every single thing will be scrutinized, whatever you do or say. So um, yeah, so it's not easy. That's why I think it's important to have female friendships. I've always had really good female friends. Strong support from women. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the way we look at the world is very different. I know, people say male and female competencies are the same, but genetically we are not wired the same. The way we look at the world is different. So, can you give some examples during your IT phase where you felt that as a female, your intellect was very different in the way you approach, but still you were able to make it? For example, I was very creative, and my intelligence was in thinking out of the box, and it's always been my forte. And when I sit with people who think in a very structured way, they like the fact that we are able to problem solve in a new space. Like, but some females, some women colleagues, they limit themselves. They think, hey, look, this is how the world is, this is how the men around me are thinking. I will try to operate in that space only, and I will compete in that space only, even though genetically my mind, my body saying something else. How did you cross the chasm? How did you do that?
First of all, I don't know, or I don't think that there is, like, I am wired in a different way, intellectually. I
Mhm.
feel like, analytically I am sort of similar to a male's brain. I wouldn't say like I'm totally different, thinking something different, but obviously my life experiences are different being a female. So I think I bring in a different perspective to problems, and I bring in the much needed diverse perspective. Diversity and inclusion is big, right? So yeah.
Yeah, tell me, in let's say in an IIT, let's say in a group study session, let's say there are five guys and you're only one girl, and they're talking over you. What would somebody like you have done? Because there are two ways to do this. You talk louder than them. I know people who do that, and they get their way across. Or you're like a nice person. You wait for everyone to finish, and then you get left out. Or is there like a midway?
Yeah, so this is very common, mansplaining.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Manterrupting, mansplaining, and they listen to you and do exactly the opposite, because they just feel that somebody challenged them and they prove them wrong. So
Yeah.
I've had very good relationship with men at work, but I just wanted to know what it's like in IIT.
Yeah, no, IITs, we had, I think it's not as much of group discussion and stuff where, someone would talk over me. I think I would, if someone would underestimate me, then I think it's their foolishness. So I wouldn't bother. I would just keep my goal in my head and march forward. Yeah.
Wonderful. So let's move. You're somebody who kind of stays grounded, and you pursue your own personal goals, and then that defines your win. That is your perspective. So sounds like you're a person who competes with your own goals or your own internal goals, and then if you win, that gives you a lot of satisfaction, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I want to be better than what I was yesterday. So it's all about me versus me. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, and then you move on to a PhD at UC Davis. So, this is a slightly stark and different environment. UC Davis is more diverse and it's here in the United States. What was it like to come to a different country and hold your own? And PhD is not easy. Computer science, and especially the field you've chosen, is very tough. And there are a lot of hurdles you have to cross, pleasing your advisor, getting your draft right, getting your experiments and data right. So, what was that journey like? And what's your advice for women who are pursuing PhD? Not to drop out.
So PhD is tough. It's something like starting a company, like Elon Musk said it, chewing glass and staring into abyss. So you don't know what to expect. You don't know when your paper will be published. So it's interesting because it takes a lot of reassurance, self reassurance, telling to yourself that what, I'm going to publish this paper, I'm going to time it, so it's a lot of like reflecting and thinking about your goals, what you need to achieve and what you need to publish, timing it right. So a lot of planning and stuff goes into it.
Yeah.
When people ask me, oh, did PhD really help you boost your career, I would say that it really gave me those skills that I wouldn't get if I directly went from undergraduate to a job.
Yeah. I mean, that is remarkable. You did a PhD in 4 years, and you kind of skipped your master's, didn't you?
So actually, I could transfer some courses from Kharagpur. So I had some grad level courses at Kharagpur. I could transfer them, but still, I think thanks to some clarity from my advisor that so we had a clear rule at my with my advisor that you need to have 4 journal level publications before you graduate. So that's a very good criteria to have. Sometimes grad students struggle because they don't know what is the criteria to graduate, and they keep struggling to understand when they graduate what are they going to do next. So that's a very big problem because you have to be constantly worrying about these things.
So tell me, what was it like to pick your thesis topic? Because I've seen a lot of people give up by picking the wrong topic, or they change the topics, they change the projects midway, or the advisor, is very happy with them when they start, things don't move the way they expect, and the advisor gives up on them. So what was it like for you? Like, how did you pick the topic, and what's your advice to people on picking the right topic?
So one example I can give is researching on 5G networks. So the paper that I wrote, which is called Front Hall 5G Latency and Jitter paper. So that got Best Paper Award for a journal called JOCN.
Wow.
It's a very high impact paper. So for that, especially, I think I did a good thing by picking the right field.
Mm-hmm.
So it's whether it's startups or PhD, it's about riding a wave. So 5G was the wave that I had to ride to work on the right problem, right? Like because if you go and work on a thing that nobody cares about, or it's not of any value to actual people or businesses, it's not going to help.
I like the fact that you compared doing a PhD to a startup because a lot of startups fail.
Yeah,
They are kind of like 5 to 6 year projects. They are not researching the right idea. They're
yep,
not looking at the market need.
yep.
And you did the same thing. So tell me more, why don't you build on that thought? What are the
Yeah,
parallels between a PhD and a startup?
I would say it's very, very similar because even at PhD too, like even my advisor used to say this, like picking the problem is 80%, because if you're not picking a real problem, if you're a solution in search of a problem, you're going to fail miserably, like whether in research or whether it's a company. So you have to really pick a right problem, and I think that's like that involves researching what's out there, seeing what you can add, how, a lot of similarities between how companies are formed as well, right? Like you have to like look at your competitors, you have to look at the market needs, and you have to see like where you can bring in the value. And once you have fixed on a particular idea, proposing a solution and doing stuff, I think is kind of a cakewalk.
So let's say you found an idea. What is the first thing you do? Because one of the, I was interviewing a unicorn founder. He's also a PhD from Rice. He said, if as soon as he finds a good startup idea, he does a competitor research and then he waits for some time. He waits for validation and he doesn't jump on it. What his other friends who do startups do is they right away jump on it. So what did you do as soon as you found your sweet spot? Did you go talk to someone? Did you validate it with other colleges, other students, or did you try doing a small project and running it by someone? How did that phase go?
Yeah, so I think one of the parallels was I ended up collaborating with Coti from Italy, University of Pisa. So that's where I got my validation. So initially, I was thinking that 5G is a wave, so I have to be working on this. And then I had an idea about latency and jitter, CPRI based technologies. And when I was thinking about this, I also happened to meet this other collaborator from Italy at a conference in LA, and they validated my idea that this is something, that's something which is going to be of value. And there is time sensitive networking, TSN. It's an IEEE organization that's also interested in this. So some validations from there, and then my own conviction. I think that helped.
Wonderful. So these are very good tips. I wanted to also pick your brain on how to prepare for IIT entrance exams. It's not too long ago since you did your bachelor's. It's kind of okay, less than a decade. So do you mind sharing what that's like, or have things changed?
Yeah, I graduated 10 years back, so I'm not that fresh grad anymore. But yeah, I think it's important to have that liking towards the fields, because I was pretty passionate about physics to start off with when I was in 10th grade. And like, although I was not super excited about math, I was good at it. So I think like once you have those inclinations, it becomes a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not enjoying it, it's probably not advisable. So if you find something that's enjoyable and you like doing it, so you'll do better than anybody who's working hard.
And do you think hard work is overrated?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So, then another major milestone which I see, which I feel was a milestone, was your stint at Google. It's very hard to get into Google. Everybody knows that. What was Google like, and how did you crack the nut? How did you get into Google, and what was it like?
Yeah. So Google, I think I had I think on site with four interviewers back to back, solving coding questions. So yeah, that was interesting. Like going from PhD to like doing a lot of algorithms and coding stuff and design. So that was a bit of a shift for me. So I did. So when I was preparing for Google, I was still at Akamai. So, and I had a very hectic work life at Akamai, because that was a startup that got acquired to Akamai, and that was my team. So that was still running as a startup. I used to get back to home at 10 p.m. and then prepare from 10 to 12 for Google, Google's interview. So that was, I think if I look back, probably that was like the tough phases of my life where I had to like really work hard and yeah, try to get into Google. But yeah, inside Google, it was pretty nice actually. Like all the benefits or amount of food that you get in the cafeterias, varieties, and like people. I think it was.
What is the work culture like? The gender, I see a lot of diversity generally in most teams in Google.
Yeah.
It's a different world. As soon as I step in, I have some family working there. When I go there to meet them, I feel, oh, wow, I've entered a different world. So how and it's extremely competitive. People work on weekends, they sleep in the office, it's a very hard working culture. A lot of performance reviews all the time. What was it like? You seem to have been very hardworking throughout, like, from Kharagpur, then PhD, then getting into Qualcomm is also a great company, and then you came to Google. What is it like at Google?
Yeah. So Google, I can say that a lot of people there are really good programmers,
Hmm.
exceptionally good programmers.
Mm-hmm.
They care a lot about the code quality, coding style. At Google, there are like 10,000 documents about how to write your C++ code. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it is very pedagogical in the sense that you are, yeah, it takes the coding style to the next level. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. One thing I distinctly remembered in Google, people are so uh, they're so aware and they care so much about rules.
yeah.
There was a person who was walking in front of me in the cafeteria, and then I sat down, and he walked for 2 or 3 minutes, and he came back all the way because there was a small piece of paper which fell off from his plate, and he forgot to put it in the right recycling bin. So he walked back 5 minutes, and I'm like, what is he doing? Snooping around the the trash can, and I'm like, he's trying to figure out where this piece of paper needs to go in the 4 or 5 trash cans they have for the right kind of recycling. So I believe that, but then on that note, but you have to do performance reviews, and you have to not only do the job but also care about this whole cycle of reviews. How was that cycle for you? I know you're in PhD, there's a lot of freedom there, but here you are put in a very observed environment. Everybody's observing you. What was that phase like?
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it too much. I think I'm more of a person who wants to be left out, figure out my own thing. So yeah, I think Google is a lot more structured, and you will be put in a very small area and work, right? So like you
Yeah.
said, so it's a there are it's a big company, so there are procedures for everything. There is stuff people have put in a lot of thought and figured out what needs to be done. So there's
Yeah.
not as much chaos. So it was not too much scope, I felt, because I think I thrive in chaos.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, absolutely. You seem very structured, but I felt that you have the founder vibe because you said PhD is like a startup. Not many people make that statement, but you said that sounds like you like the startup energy. And now you are a founding software engineer, senior software engineer at a startup. Tell us what your startup does, what your role is, and why you are in this exciting place.
Yeah, so the startup that I work for called Crystal DB does a self-managing serverless Postgres SQL. So, what our product team has found out is that a lot of companies are going to OLAPs because OLTPs are not able to scale as well, and they take a lot of DBA skills, database admin skills, which are very tough to find. So we wanted to combine these two, like the scalability of OLAP and the the guarantees of OLTP, like concurrency and really fast writes and reads. So to solve that, we wanted to make the whole database self-managing. Means it manages itself, it scales up, it scales down, it tunes like 300 odd knobs of Postgres using machine learning. So it's like, think of it like a Waymo for databases. It's self-driving.
Wow, that's amazing. I like the analogy. Self-driving database. Databases are everywhere. They're the crux of the matter in shaping all kinds of machine learning systems, all kind of enterprise systems. So it seems like you're working on a very, very scalable problem. So congratulations to you on that. I wanted to ask you, do you feel like you would be starting your own company?
Oh yeah, I would love to. I think yeah, for sure. So on that, being on visa is not very easy. So I'm on H1. As soon as I get my O1, maybe. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, Divya, great. Thank you so much for taking us through your journey. Any last thoughts which cross your mind in this Women's History Month? First of all, are you a person who has a role model, or do you feel you don't need role models? If you have a role model, who is that, and who
Yeah.
who drives you? Who is the person who really drives you?
I wouldn't say someone drives me. I drive myself. But I think growing up and even now, I love Indra Nooyi. She's someone, I love her energy. She was the CEO of PepsiCo, like a big Fortune 500 company, right? So yeah, I love her energy. She's very practical. She's very energetic. I love her vibe. Yeah.
Wonderful. She's my favorite too. And one of the things I always remember from Indra Nui's interviews is, why do you feel bad when somebody criticizes you or puts you down? Why don't you think of it that they're improving you? If you
Yeah.
think of it like that,
Hmm.
your whole life becomes a journey of positivity. So, that always comes to me in tough times. So, on that amazing, amazing note, thank you, Divya. I really had an awesome chat, learned so much. What's next for Divya Chitimalla? What do you see yourself doing in the next 5 years?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, definitely something. Start something on my own.
Awesome, awesome, wonderful. Thank you, and we'd love to have you back. Good luck with everything you're doing, and see you around. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great
wonderful.
pleasure chatting with you.